Hey guys, thanks for coming back to my channel. Today we're going to watch a video about how a, a woman who transitioned to being a man has discovered what it's like to be a man and realized the differences between men and women and how they are treated differently now that they are a man. Sorry, I was trying not to use he, she there when I was saying that. I had to think real hard.
So there's this viral tweet going around from a Tumblr account from a person named Zan, who is a trans man, detailing the culture shock he's experienced post-transition. It was really eye-opening and interesting to hear that he has been perfectly positioned to gain insight into unique gender dynamics and social conditioning. So I'm just going to straight up read most of Zan's post to you because I thought it was incredibly perceptive. And I want to amplify it, but I don't want to risk messing up his words or his message. So here we go. I'm pretty quiet about the fact that I'm a trans man, but holy shit, I need to tell you about the culture shock I'm going through because it's blindsiding me. There is this huge sense of social isolation that comes with being perceived as male, because now people are subconsciously treating me as a potential predator. All strangers, no matter their gender, keep their guard up around me. It made me realize that there is no inherent camaraderie in male socialization, like there is in female socialization, unless, of course, it's in very specific environments. And the fact that I don't ambiently experience this mutual kinship in basic exchanges anymore is an insanely lonely feeling. You know how bad this would have fucked up my mind if I had grown up like this? It is 4:30 a.m. and I'm mourning the loss of a privilege I didn't know I had. Frankly, this is something I would have never understood without living the experience. It is now blatantly clear to me that most cis men probably experience chronic emotional malnutrition. They're deprived of social connection just enough for it to seriously fuck with their psyches, but not enough for them to realize that it's happening and what's causing it. It's like they're starving, but they don't know this because they've always been served 3 meals, except those meals have never been big enough. This
You know, it's interesting. Like I have guy friends, right? I'm kind of like a hugger. Like I'll go and hug people. I like the human connection aspect. And I think that's why it's hard for me not to be in a relationship because even though I'm not like the most touchy-feely guy when I'm in a relationship, like I'm not like all over my partner, but I do like to be close to them. I find myself craving that sort of connection. And sometimes it makes me make bad choices because of that too. Because I'm like, oh, I just want to like feel that connection with somebody. What I notice if you try to like hug your guy friends, even just like a quick bro hug or something, a lot of guys are awkward with it. They are so awkward. They're just like, they give you some weird hug where it's like, yeah, okay, but just one arm like pat you on the back, or they're like they don't know like how to hug, and you do like this whole like hug dance thing. They're like, okay. It's rare that you meet a guy who actually will just give you like a real hug. And I know a couple of guys who will give like a real hug, but most guys just seem very uncomfortable with physical touch and hug or whatever. And I don't know if it's just because we're two dudes or whatever, but they're just weird about it. I've literally said this to certain friends and stuff that don't do it. I'm like, just give it your, I'm just like, guys, just hug. Like, what are you doing? You've been friends for like 10 years and you're still like, oh, hey there, bud. And you're like shaking hands. I'm like, what? It's so stupid. Like you've gone through so many things together and you can't just like give each other a hug. It makes no sense. Kind of like what she's saying. It's like they're used to that empty plate and they're like, yeah, it's empty plate. It's weird. Guys are just very uncomfortable with like their feelings, even just with other men. So if you're not with a woman, you're not getting it. You're not getting that emotional connection. And that's why I guess we love being with women so much. It's that we can just get that. We're not getting it from other men, definitely.
deprivation comes from all sides of the aisle, by the way. In the case of women, when I'm out in public and interact with them, all of them come off as incredibly aloof, cold, and mirthless. I have never experienced this before, even though I know exactly what this composure is, the armor that keeps away creepy ass men. As someone who used to wear this myself, I know that this armor is 100% impersonal. Nobody likes wearing it.
Yeah, I know this from my experience just with dating women. Like in your face, they'll smile and talk and be like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." Like you think, "Oh man, I'm having this great time with her," and then you go to like can I get your number or can I whatever message them later? Like, do you want to get together or something? And it's just like whoosh, it just feels like, well, what was the conversation previously? Did you just feel uncomfortable and you were trying to like make it seem like you were happy and interested? So I didn't feel weird. So then, you didn't have to be honest, so I didn't get upset, like you were managing expectations, and now that we're separated, right? Like we're texting on a phone or whatever, now you're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm good." You don't even respond or you're just like, "I'm not interested." It's like whenever like for me as a man, as soon as I know I'm not interested with a woman, like in a real situation, I'm generally pretty good at just being like, no, I'm not interested. Like at the end of a date or something, let's say we go for dinner at the end of the date, I'll be like, well, I'm not really interested in going out. Like either I will say it at the end of the date or I will text it like later that night when if I think about it, if I need to like process it a little bit.
And I can say with absolute certainty that women would dump the armor in favor of unconditional companionship with men if doing this didn't run the risk of actual assault. Trust me when I say that women aren't just being needlessly guarded. But I only have complete understanding of this context because I've experienced female socialization. If I hadn't, I would have thought this coldness was a conspiracy against me devised by roughly half the human population. Even now, with all I know about navigating the world as a woman, I am failing to convince my monkey brain that this armor is not social rejection. And as for male socialization, again, it seems taboo for a man to be platonically intimate with men for reasons I have yet to fully understand, but I think it boils down to A, the fact that society teaches boys that it's not okay to be soft with each other, and B, garden variety homophobia. Our media only shows men being intimate with one another when they're teamed up against a dire situation. And I'd bet real money it's a huge ass reason why men gravitate towards activities that simulate being teamed up against an opposing force. But men are not machines of war. Yeah, testosterone absolutely gives you dumb bastard brain, but that just makes you want to like skateboard a wagon down a hill or duct tape your friend to the wall, not kill someone. The human species looks so much colder standing from this side. I can see how men might convince themselves that their feelings of emotional desperation is personal weakness, as opposed to a symptom they're experiencing from white imperialism, because the human condition is as essential for our well-being as water is. So sick, how sick. I want to destroy this garbage. End quote. And wow, right? Just wow. I have been in a place where I'm really trying to unpack a lot of things that have been taught to me that don't serve me, and that may be pretty outdated. Like, Pluto isn't a planet anymore. Neanderthal is pronounced Neanderthal. So maybe the foundational knowledge I have about more important things like gender dynamics, maybe the things that were taught to me when I was tiny, impressionable clay just aren't valid anymore. And look, even saying like female privilege makes me want to recoil, but I like that I'm really aware of how much I am rejecting that phrase and idea. Because when I listen to the words of Zan, who has crossed the gender divide, I agree, like having close, intimate, high quality friendships is an absolute privilege. And I can see now how my gender sets me up in Western society to have that. I'm a baby queer, and I think we're learning all the time. Hopefully, we're learning all the time how to unpack the biases and falsehoods that we've been given by a generation that was even more susceptible to social messaging than we are.
Hold on, what's a baby queer? She's just starting her queer life?
Because we have the internet. It takes work for us to look at why we think what we think, and more importantly, how do we dismantle it? And I can't count the amount of times I've made like stupid jokes about how men are trash. And so some of the work I've been doing specifically around gender is to just intentionally and actively look at why do I think that? And what is the male experience, whether it's cis or not, and how am I contributing to the toxic masculinity in that space? How am I making it unsafe for men to express themselves emotionally? And what am I taking for granted as someone who is female identifying and assigned at birth? And all of this means like really taking accountability for the ways in which we move through the world consciously and unconsciously. And that is exactly what I loved about Zan's post. Like, yes, okay, women are overwhelmingly the majority of victims when it comes to sexual assault and murder. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But outside of that really extreme violence,
Sexual assault and murder. I guess she means sexual assault outside of prisons. And murder? Okay. I would have thought that would have been a little closer, like why we only murdering women. Well, there do seem to be a lot of serial killers who like murder women, though, but there aren't that many serial killers. I don't know any of these stats. I'm just hearing what she's saying and postulating.
In what ways can I, as an individual, take care of other human beings, regardless of how they identify? And in what ways can we work together to dismantle old systems that are leaving half of the population incredibly lonely, emotionally starving, and malnutritioned socially? Because I can't imagine a life without my friends and without a support system. The idea that 50% of the people I know have to have that life, that is incredibly sad. So I hope Zan's words and unique perspective also reach you and help you look at the ways in which we can operate in a more conscious, compassionate place to create a better world for everyone.
The problem is, though, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of women live their lives through fear in today's society, and it's kind of hard to blame them just because we are on the internet and we see all sorts of bad things because of it. And so it gets amplified, and you don't see enough of the good things. You see lots of the bad things. So they get very, well, this man divorced this guy, divorced this woman, and now she doesn't have anywhere to live. She got kicked out, or he was a wife beater, and he was abusing her, or this woman got murdered, like in these true crime documentaries and all this stuff. Like there is so much of that, and there's not enough of all the happy things. Something that I believe it was Jordan Peterson brought up at one point is that for every one bad thing you experience, you need roughly 7 good things to counter it. So if you hear about one woman got murdered, you need to hear about 7 women who met a guy and had happy lives. So if you just think about that and you think about the internet and what's curated for you, it's tough, man. I don't know how people do it. So I thought that was an interesting video. I'd also heard about a a woman who transitioned to being a man. So it's a trans man. I don't think it's the same one, but and apparently he, because transitioned right to a man, so I guess he or they killed themselves because living as a man was so difficult. I think they were living as a man for like 2 years or something. And they killed themselves because they were like, this is freaking horrible. I haven't heard that same story from the woman's side where somebody transitions to being a woman and like, oh, it sucks being a woman. Oh my God. I think if you pick a woman, it's generally they have it better. You know what? I'm going to change what I said. I think both men and women have it hard. They just have it hard in different ways. Poor Zan here learned how to live their life as a woman, so they're well adjusted to it, and then switched to a man and was like, this is baloney. So I think that's probably more why they had an issue. Because if you grew up as a child, as a boy, you would learn the skills that you need to deal with things as a boy or as a man. So I think if you're moving like you're in your 20s or something and then you're transitioning over, that's pretty tough. You got none of the skills. Of course it's going to be hard. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you again next time. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.